And welcome everybody that is online and everybody at our Prophetstown campus. Good morning. Can we welcome all of our campuses? So glad to have you worshiping with us today. And we are in the second week of a brand new series titled Back in Rhythm. And we opened up last week with a simple invitation from Jesus to come out of that weary, burdened place, that stressed out, burned out, worn out place, that crazy rat race that so many people in our culture are living in today. Anxious, depressed, stressed out, burned out, sick of religion. Jesus says, hey, come to me. I want to teach you a better life. I want to show you the unforced rhythms of my grace. He says, if you walk with me and you work with me and you watch me, you're going to learn how to live freely and lightly. That was my message last week. If you weren't here, you can catch up and listen to that. But something happens when you're in the yoke with Jesus and you're walking with him and you're working with him and you're watching him. What happens is you start to become more like him. In your life, you start to, over the years, you become more in sync with him, more in step with him, how he lived, what he prioritized, what he did. All of a sudden, our heart's beats sync up with his heartbeat. And the focus of today is getting back in rhythm with God's heart for the world. Because I'm telling you, if you could put your ear up to God's chest, his heart is beating for people. I'm telling you, the heart of our God beats for the nations, every tribe, every tongue, every nation. I mean, from Genesis to Revelation, man, the heart of God is so passionate about the hurting and the broken and the weary and the burdened and the outcast and the doubting and those who have not yet heard the good news of the gospel, the invitation to come and experience new life in Christ. And it's so amazing how we're seeing God change hearts and lives right here in our communities. We've seen miraculous things happening in our schools, in our communities. And we also believe that God has called us, man, to the world, to pick up his heart for the nations. And so today, we've got one of our Kingdom Builders partners, Ryan Moore, someone who has really, Ryan, I love what you do and how you've aligned your life with God's heartbeat for the world. And Ryan has been with Builders International since 2007. He's the leading that ministry that's partnered with so many that if you guys are already in the rhythm of giving to Kingdom Builders through that vehicle, they're one of our partners. But I've invited him here to share with you. And here's what I'm hoping. I'm praying as he shares that God's going to connect your heart. Because here's what happens when we get out of the rhythm with God, whether that be summer schedules or lives or doubts. When we get out of sync, we talked about last week, it's not just chaotic and it doesn't just rob our souls. So often what happens is we get out of rhythm with God's priorities and we stop caring about the things that he cares about. And all of a sudden, all we care about is our own little life and our own little bubble and this thing right in front of us. And I believe God wants to give you a gift, many of you a gift today, by giving you his heart for the world and his heart for the lost. And so I'm praying as Ryan shares today that, man, there's something that stirs in you, that God, that you'd get back in rhythm with God's heartbeat, God's mission, God's purpose for you, man, in Clinton and Prophetstown and the United States and around the world, man, that we would be about his business. And so I've got a short video. Ryan's going to come. After that video, make sure you give him a big River Church welcome. And we're gonna be giving you a special opportunity at the end of our service to give financially through Kingdom Builders to Ryan's ministry, Builders International. And so if you would just kind of already be praying and just saying, hey, God, how do you want to use me in that? If you're visiting with us, there's no pressure or obligation whatsoever. We just want to give you the opportunity to respond to a really great opportunity to make an eternal difference in a lot of people. So if you would, go ahead and turn your attention with me to the screen.
Do you hear it? The sound of building places where people find hope. Do you see it? The countless people who have found lasting hope. Our hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness.
My name is Steve McCarthy. I'm along with my wife Jill and our 3 children. We've been missionaries for the last 16 years. We serve in the nation of Uruguay. And about 10 years ago, the National Church came to us and they asked if we would head up church planting. We saw people that lived there that hadn't ever been to a church once in their life. And so we decided to work with some young couples, people who had never planted church before, but help to train and mentor them to establish these new churches. One of the things that we noticed along the way was that these churches were limited in growth because of the space that they were in. They were meeting in people's homes or garages, and we thought, what would it look like if they had an opportunity to have a permanent structure that they could call their own? That led us to Builders International, to partner with someone that could help us to be able to build these new churches. Hope for Uruguay 100 is an initiative to plant or establish 100 new churches in the least reached parts of Uruguay and to build 100 sanctuaries for these new and growing congregations. 26 churches have been built and dedicated, and we have a goal as we go back for this next term to see another 25. We recently had a dedication for a church. We had 250 people. They took up every seat that was in there, people standing all around the back, and the ones that couldn't even get in the church watched through the windows. And so we're so grateful to see new churches are being established, people are being reached. One of the stories I think of is the very first one that we went to. I met an older gentleman there that day, and I asked him his name. He says, my name's Antonio. I said, Antonio, how did you end up here today? And he said, I just want you to know I'm an atheist. Never been to church in my life before. And he said, I heard you were building, and my wife told me I had to come and help you out today. At the end of the day, I said, Antonio, you've been such a help today. Would you consider coming back tomorrow? And guess what? He did. Not just a second day, but a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. When the dedication service started, I looked, and there was Antonio walking through the back door. And when I gave the altar call at the end of it, he came forward to give his life to Christ. Later, when he was baptized, some of his own kids and his grandkids were baptized that same day. At the end of it, he looked at me and he said, Steve, he said, thanks for coming and changing the course of my family history. I said, Antonio, I didn't do that. That was God. That's what he did for you because he loves you so much. But I think I know what Antonio meant. Our obedience opens the door for lives to be changed. Our willingness to say yes to go. Our willingness to say yes to pray. Our willingness to say yes to give opens up the door so Antonio has a chance to hear the gospel. And what God has done in Uruguay, he wants to do in other nations of the world through your yes.
Good morning, River Church. It's such a pleasure to be here. What a cool day. Pastor Jeremiah and Ashley, to get to be here with you. Not a lot of churches get to do this, and with so many people. God's doing something special right here in Clinton. Really, really, truly is. And let me just say, I enjoyed meeting your family this morning. You have a tremendous pastor couple here leading the church. And I got to meet all their kids this morning. They shake my hand, nice and strong, look me in the eye. And they're a bunch of surfer kids, I learned to go surfing on their vacation. So I love that. So, hey, it's a pleasure to be here. Let me just start by saying thank you. I know that this church is a Kingdom Builders church. You give to missions. You're reaching people here at home. What incredible testimonies this morning. And you're reaching people and changing lives around the world. And sometimes my goal today is to help you connect your generosity with the impact that you make when you give. in reaching people. And this is something that God has used to build the church from the earliest of the days. That is just how the kingdom gets built. And so at Builders International, we have the pleasure of working with missionaries and organizations around the world where there's a growing ministry, there's an effective leader, and they need help with the building. It's become their hurdle to growth. And we come alongside those ministries and help raise money. We help send volunteer missions construction teams to go build. And then when we see that happen, even more people find hope, restoration, and meaning. And it was fun hearing your story. Pastor Jeremiah was sharing with me as you moved into this building and what happened. And I got to go see the warehouse where you were previously, what difference a building can make in reaching people. Because at the end of the day, this is bricks and mortar. Because the kingdom we're building is not bricks and mortar. It's the souls that are inside this flesh and blood that we call humanity. So thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for giving to Kingdom Builders. You're a generous church. And, you know, we have an incredible worldwide fellowship of missionaries that we partner with. And Kingdom Builders supports missionaries through this fellowship. And there are a lot of people that have given their life and served in difficult ways around the world to start a new work. And those are the people that we get to come alongside and support. And I love the missionary stories of the early days when people were going into new places, doing new things. And somebody gave me a book, or told me about a book called Before I Kill and Eat You. And this is a missionary story of being called to Africa. And actually, I bought the book on Amazon. My wife didn't know I bought it. This is a side story. And it said, don't forget to review Before I Kill and Eat You. She was like, I better review that book, So anyway, H.B. Garlock is the missionary's name. I think it's good to remember some of the sacrificial stories of what people have done to plant the works that we get to support around the world. So he was called to Liberia in the 1920s. And in the 1920s, it was completely undeveloped. Few roads, malaria, sickness, all of that. And so H.B. Garlock goes there in the 20s and begins a ministry. Very difficult road of doing what he did. On one occasion when they were new, they were sleeping in their home, basically a hut that they had built, and they hear screaming in the night, and it turns out it was a little child from one of the villages that got taken by a lion in the middle of the night. So they were in a difficult scenario. Well, God began to bless their ministry. They began to reach people. And on one occasion, there was a lady walking along their village, the trail that came along their village, and she fell out sick. She was very ill. She was from a neighboring village, and some of his men that worked with him came and said, hey, well, we got to help this lady. Something's wrong. So they got her. They gave her some medical care, took her into the village, and as soon as she could speak, she told H.B. Garlock that one of the neighboring warrior villages had taken her daughter and that she was now a slave there. And her daughter was 4 years old. And he knew right off the bat, it's like, we can't go there. It's a 4-day hike. Those are warriors. And if we go into that village, they'll kill us. They'll kill us all. And she would not relent. She kept asking. And eventually, HB felt like, okay, this must be something God wants me to do. I don't know if you're a relentless mother in the house. It's okay to be a relentless mother because you can make some changes in people's lives. So she eventually, he felt like this was God's will. So he got his men together. He said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to hike to the village, and we're going to go meet with the elders. And so he and several of his men did the 4-day hike through the hot jungle. It was a difficult trek. They get there, and they come into the village, and the leaders meet them, and they come and do a cultural meeting where they sit down and have some food and visit. And then eventually the chief of the tribe says, well, what are you here for? What can we do for you? And H.B. Garlock begins to tell him the story of the mother, and he's here to come get the little girl. And he made an offer, a financial offer, which was typical to do in that day. And he said, nope, you for sure can't have her. And so H.B. was prepared to negotiate, so he doubled. He offered what was the value of an adult woman in that day. And he said, nope, so he doubled it again, still refused. Feeling a little bit uncertain of what to do, he looked over to his men, spoke to them in English quietly and said, hey guys, in just a moment, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk over and get the little girl, and we're just walking out of this village. And they eventually did that and left the whole tribe just stunned. What just happened? They walked right out. And these are warriors. These aren't people that you mess with. And they start hiking, and they're hiking fast, and they make it all the way to a village, and they get there for the night. So they're nervous. They're not sure what's going to happen. They're praying that they're safe. But in the middle of the night, they hear the drums beating in the distance, and they're coming. And they're hearing the warrior screams, and they've gotten themselves just into a froth of anger, and they're there to fight. And they come into the village where they're staying, and they ask the villagers where they are. And eventually, HB knows he's got to come out and face them. They were about to start burning down all the huts. He comes out, and they're saying, kill him, kill him, kill him. He's expecting to die in that moment. They've got the girl in the hut with the other gentleman, and he gets down on his knees and closes his eyes. He's expecting that to happen. And all of a sudden, everything goes silent. The drums stop, the screaming stops, and he opens his eyes, and he sees the warriors backing away. Slowly but surely backing away. And eventually, the leader of that group comes up to him, bows down in front of him and apologizes, and they turn and run away. That's the kind of people that we serve. That's the kind of God that we serve. They've given their life sacrificially to reach people. Now, here's what happens. They take the girl back home. They reconnect her with her mother, who was still fatally ill. She wanted to see her daughter. The next day, the mother passes away. She got to see her daughter. God met her request, and that's the God that we serve. So, friends, when you give to Kingdom Builders and you send that money to missionaries around the world, you're supporting people that need that help and that are making an impact in lives, just like the Garlocks. I know you partner with Project Rescue. I know you've been to El Salvador, to King's Castle. Isn't that correct? You are supporting some incredible ministries and missionaries around the world. And it's a pleasure to get to do what we do. Now, I love building. I love that you're a Kingdom Builders church. And there's something, the great missionary J. Hudson Taylor, he said this once. I love this quote. There are 3 stages to every great work of God. At first, it's impossible. You ever been there? And then it's difficult. And then it's done. But when you're kingdom building, there are no easy stages in the process. We heard that from the story shared this morning. Kingdom building, whether you're building a building or building a life, it's just difficult work. And it's a very chaotic, messy process to build the kingdom. But there are some great kingdom builders in the Bible. Maybe you've heard of the gentlemen Bezalel and Oholiab. Not the most known names. They were the first people filled with the Spirit of the God in the Bible, called, specifically chosen to design and build the tabernacle. Solomon was a kingdom builder. He built the first temple. The tribes of Judah and Benjamin, they were called and responded to build the second temple. Joseph, isn't this great? The father of Jesus, he was a builder. We know him as a carpenter, but the word that described him in Greek was tekton, and that means more generally builder. He was a builder. Isn't it interesting that God chose the father of Jesus to be a builder? And one of my favorite builders, though, is Nehemiah. And this morning, I just want to briefly share 4 thoughts about Nehemiah. And then I'm going to turn this back over to Pastor Jeremiah. So what does it mean to be a kingdom builder inspired by Nehemiah? Just 4 things this morning. As you may be asking yourself, I go to this church, I hear us talk about kingdom builders, what's that mean? Well, first of all, the heart of a kingdom builder is broken for the lost. If you're a kingdom builder, you care about lost people. And that comes out in the actions that you take. And Nehemiah 1:3-4, I'm going to read this. And they said to me, this is Nehemiah, the remnant there in the province who had survived the exile is in great trouble and shame. The wall of Jerusalem is broken and its gates are destroyed by fire. As soon as I heard these words, I sat down and wept and mourned for days. And I continued fasting and praying before the God of heaven. Have you ever had that moment where you hear about something that captures your heart, that breaks your heart, and you know you have to take action? That's the heart of a kingdom builder. When that happens to you, that's God moving on your heart. That's not your emotions. That's not your feelings. That's God working on your heart. Kingdom builders, number 2, take time to understand the need. It takes time to build relationships, to get to know what the need is. When Nehemiah went to Jerusalem to go rebuild the wall, which was his call to do, he showed up in the night and quietly investigated. He didn't jump right in. And I'm going to move through these a little bit quicker here because I want to share 2 more things and close with a video before Pastor comes. Kingdom builders know how to build a team. It takes a team to do what you do. There's not one person that is the kingdom builder. It takes a team. Nehemiah came to the city and he gathered the city leaders and he said, let us build the wall. And they all responded affirmatively. They built that wall together. And kingdom builders, they have a mind to work. It's the 4th point, the last thing. You know, you can want to do something. You can have the feeling that you need to do something. But kingdom builders, they have a mind to work. And it's obvious that you do that here. Coming into the foyer, you are workers. You got volunteers everywhere taking care of all the things. I saw how much grass you have to mow. Somebody does that. You have to have a mind to work to do that. So thank you for being a kingdom builder. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your giving. I see it day in and day out firsthand, changing lives in the role that we have. We serve missionaries all over the world. I was just sharing with Pastor Jeremiah this morning, a missionary that we're working with in Albania, just recently has been seeing miracles of healings. And he had an X-ray photo that was of a lady that had been recently healed. Before the healing, she had a big metal plate on her femur and screws everywhere. The after, that plate was gone and those screws were gone, and it miraculously was healed in a moment's notice. God's at work, and the people that you're supporting through Kingdom Builders are making an eternal impact. Just as we close, here's a look at a couple of the other projects we're involved with that you will be helping to support through your generosity at Kingdom Builders. River Church, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me today.
Montana is a post-Christian culture, but as soon as you get into the bush, everything changes. On the ground, Chief Yaviluk drew the mark of a cross, and then he wiped it out. He said, "So don't talk about it." A few months later, his eyes were yellow, his face was sunken in, and he said, "Missionary, I've had the shaman come to my hut. It's not working." He said, "Would you pray and ask your God to help me?" I told him I would love to pray for you. And when I opened my eyes, the look on Chief Yaviluk's face had changed to this look of complete peace. It was about 6 months later, sitting in this big bamboo chair was Chief Yaviluk. And I walked up to him and I grabbed his hand and he said, "Brother, I will see you Again, Chief Yawiluk had died. The new chief said it was my father's wish that the plan of the missionary would go forward from here. And that day, the church was planted. So with these open doors, the missing link is an actual physical training facility. And that's where the Tandem Mission Center comes into play. So once this is in place and up and running, I'm so excited because this is going to open the door for us to continue ministry not only in these places, but in the rest of Vanuatu and beyond.
All over the world, we see the powerful move of God in action, just like at the Tandem Mission Center in Vanuatu. Project Shovel Ready is a fund that ensures a wide variety of life-giving, shovel-ready projects move forward to completion without delay. Churches, Bible schools, compassion projects, and children's initiatives are making a tremendous impact in the lives of people in their communities. Each project in our initiative is carefully selected and vetted for its potential to serve marginalized communities. These are viable, impactful projects chosen not only for their immediate need, but for their lasting ability to serve as a tool to help transform lives and ensure a long-term, recurring impact. From providing safe places for worship and education to creating centers for hope and healing, these projects empower ministry partners to reach even more people with the gospel and life-changing services, building momentum that will continue for years to come.
I came here and I was full of joy and full of happiness. And then I realized that God maybe is real and maybe this is the thing I was searching for my entire life.
Thanks to your generosity, the lost in Vanuatu will hear the good news, and a wide variety of ministries around the world will be equipped to thrive and serve even more. Will you prayerfully consider joining in this mission to build places where hurting people find hope? Your ministry of generosity is vital to ensure these life-changing projects finish strong.
Thanks to your generosity, the trajectory of countless lives are going to be changed for eternity.
Amen.